Hello everyone. Uh, Welcome to my stream. It's been about a week. I'm gonna try to do these weekly and just have it do like whatever I'm currently doing at the time. But by the title of the stream, you would guess that I'm going to be recreating Sonic 1 and GDevelop. Which, yeah, that's what's happening. Let me turn down my fan so you guys don't overhear it. There you go. Okay. Welcome to my stream, those who's here. Instead of last time where I just had my stream running, I have it in. I have the chat pulled up via OBS. So yeah. Okay. First things first. We're gonna ignore this for now. We need to get our resources. Or if you ever like want video game like sprites, audio, besides music, textures, models, about anything, one of the best sites you can go to is the Spriter's resource. This is a really useful website. A bunch of sprites being ripped and uploaded almost every day. And like people also like host their custom sprites they make as well. But what we're interested in right now is the Sega Genesis section, where we could head over to Sonic 1. And here is every single sprite. I believe it's every single sprite used in the original Sonic 1. Like big popular games like Sonic 1, for example, or Mario Bros. Mostly Mario Bros. For the NES, they will have all their assets like ripped, everything, since it's highly popular, stuff like that. But like there's like some lesser games where they don't have everything ripped. Like for example, in Sonic Triple Trouble's submission page, it took up until this year for the character select sprites to be ripped. But you do gotta keep in mind, people who like actively contribute to this site, they only do it for like to help others. Like they're not being paid, stuff like that. They just do it to do it. So yeah. What we're going to do now, we're going to yoink Sonic sheet, and we are going to yoink the common object sheet. And this should be good for us right now. This is just me making the thumbnail. I was originally going to use, this art, which I was, like, cutting out. In the description after I post this video, I will... Actually, no, in the comments I'll post where I found this from. Because I don't remember off the top of my head. But... I do not like it when Photoshop does that. Whoopsies. First, we got to line up the sprites. Ooh, my mic's getting kind of loud and it's kind of peaking. Let me turn that down a tiny bit for you guys. There we go. Okay. So what we gotta do? Oh, well, what I do. Usually like to have the sprites here, stuff like that. I do have a sprite, but when it comes to like lining up animation, stuff like that, I use it for other stuff. Like when it comes to like lining up these animations, I usually always use Photoshop since that's what I've gotten used to. But like when it comes to like palette correction, actually like exporting it, then I would use a sprite. But we can't have a project unless we have GDevelop open and we have it being worked on. I was working on like a little test here. What's it called? Uh, I just have Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, some of their animations. Uh, Sonic is the most quote-unquote complete, even though there's barely anything in this. His idle animation is completely, made out. It's not one-to-one, since normally during, like, when he does that pose, I think it's akin to, like, either promo art or, like, development art. Um, he would look back at you for a brief moment, then continue, and then he continues with, like, a little bounce for additional, loops. But he doesn't do that. We just got simple running, jumping. You can crouch, look up, skid, well, churn, but it does display the skidding animation. You can roll, do a lot of things. But now, we gotta make this new project. Just simple. I have not tried the AI stuff, and I probably won't use it since I prefer to do my stuff by myself and not to be assisted. Okay. Width and height, that'd be 320 by 224. We will name this Sonic 1 GDevelop. And then I'll just name it here too, so I just know where to look. And label that this is for the stream, so I'm not going to be working on this unless I'm streaming to you guys. Not only that, it helps show my process to you guys. It also prevents me from working on it too much and getting burnt out. Which is an issue I have a lot of the time. So, we create new game. So first, I'm going to do this for myself, setup grid. Actually, show grid. We are going to rename this scene to gameplay test act. No, we won't put the act number in. We'll... Actually, no, we can, and I can, like... I don't know how to explain it. I'll do that later. So we got gameplay test act 1. And when we rename it, it's going to close out of that. So we just go back in, show our grid again, and boom. We got all this here. Before, like, I generally start coding, I like to have graphics there. This is how GDevelop is. You got extensions that do, like, a lot of, like, the platform and controlling for you. So, I know, like, the bare bones of gameplay will work. Like, the very bare bones. But, like, I like to have animations as I do stuff like that once I get it working, stuff like that. Just, ow. I accidentally poked myself. But I just like setting up animations to begin with. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to load up Sonic Mania's sprite sheet for Sonic. And you yoink at this Sonic sprite right here. Once he's been stolen, I'm going to make a new document and set the canvas size to 96 by 96. And set the name to player. I put him in the center. Rename him to 0 or something since he's not going to be used. This is just like for lining up and setup. There we go. I'm gonna just slightly create like a small little box. So I just like no bounding box, stuff like that. Now we have our Mania Sonic visible. We're going to go remove the background for these, since I'm too lazy to delete it. Like, later on. And then we just grab it, copy and paste. And then boom. we have our Sonic sprite right here. And actually, I'm going to change the colors here to be the same as the sheet. There we go. You might be asking, like, oh, why are you, like, going through using one by one? Why aren't you just, like, just yoinking it how it is? I don't like how, the, like, base animations here are, like, lined up. I do things differently and, like, kind of line it up more like how Mania does it. But also when it comes to rolling, for example, we're going to have to line it up manually, since it's how our extension's working. Speaking of extensions, it's better if we get some of the ones that we need installed. The main one we need is one that I helped develop, is the Hedgehog platformer. This is the GDevelop version of it. Me and the other person who worked on this, we have our own version. I think it's called the Hedgehog extension. We got a normal version and we got a DX version. But these versions are slightly different. They're relatively the same, but it has, like, different stuff. But right now I've been preferring to use the GDevelop version because I will be like my goal at the very end of this project and like any like other example project that I make is to make it open source so people can use this as a basis to make their own Sonic fan games. Or they could like reference this code, reference the code being used, stuff like that, the events, and I could just reference it from the stream. Hopefully you guys don't steal from the stream, do your own thing. But just give me time, and this will like be out like once I'm finished, stuff like that. But right now we are going to make our player object, name it player collision, and for behaviors we'll add the Hedgehog platformer character. When I'm doing it, I do not like to use these additional ones besides the platformer since that is needed. Spring, rolling, and character animator. That can all be done via events, and I feel that it is more successful to do that via the events. So we're going to add this and leave it alone for now. Press apply, and save. So we just have our thing there. Now, we're going to have to import all the animations, which is not that hard. I like to just generally set it up. Like some of these frames will be skipped because they're just duplicates. Unless their like offset is like completely really different from like how other frames appear. I don't use the repeat frames. But all we gotta do, line these up. When it comes to like the standing animations, they're lined up by the very back of his foot. Or at least that's from what I've seen. There we go, and we got the idle, board, and look up and duck animation. Now we got to do the walk animation, which simple animation once again. This time we are lining up via the center, and now once it's lined up via the center, we will be lining it up with his nose. It usually starts when it comes to like the Sonic 1 walk animation. In the Genesis game, in the original Genesis game, his walk animation sways a bit. Every release, like every other like Sonic game, whether it's a remake of Sonic 1 that's not a direct like horror, like that's not like a direct emulation, or like other games like Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 for example, they line it up via like his nose and like his face here, instead of having it like sway back and forth. So first, If we do CD, we'd line it up perfectly with the head. But since we're not, he has a little bounce. So usually it's this first frame's fully down, and then this goes up by 2. And then we go grab this one, and it goes down by 1. So we got the simple first 3 frames, and then we will be doing that with the next one. Don't fully remember how it's supposed to be lined up, but I'm pretty sure it's like this, where the muzzle here will be like lined up. Let's see if we delete it. It's not perfect, but not delete it if we hide it. But it lines up, and it makes sense. So now we're going to add these 2 frames and do the exact same thing. Up by 2. And down by 1. So now that we got the walk animation, I'm going to move on to the run animation. Where it's simple. There's nothing really. I usually try to line it up roughly the same, but like keep it centered. Like to like the general hitbox. And we just overlap these and carry on, do it like this. There's like no like additional offsets we gotta do with this animation. It's just straightforward. So now that we got this animation on, we can move to the next. But if you don't mind me, I am going to pull up my stream on my second monitor real quick. So I know, like, who's chatting, and, like, how many views I got, so I can, like, actively, like, talk to you, stuff like that. This is select. Aha! There we go. Sorry about that. I forgot that I could just pull it up from OBS. Back to the sprites. We're just gonna continue setting these up. I'm gonna continue with the skidding animation. Line that up roughly where his torso is in the center of the sprite frame. That's a warning. Let me check what the warning is real quick. Never mind, it's not telling me. What is it saying to me? The bit rate's lower. So that's not the best. But it's fine, it's whatever. I could probably just have this open here as the chat has the studio everything. I don't know why the bitrate is low in this warning. But it's whatever. Let's just continue. So we're just gonna continue, line up these animations. The skid is lined up by the bottom of this foot right here. Now that we got the skid, stuff like that, we can now focus on the rolling. It'd be a really good idea if I were to cut these animations instead of just copying and pasting them, so I know what I've done already. And since this is like a sprite sheet that is not edited from the original at all, I have like no concern on doing this. Actually, I don't really care. Let's just do long strips like that. It's like not like anyone's gonna go back and use the sprite sheet. Okay. Now we gotta do the roll animation. How this extension does it, it's based on an older version of DX. So the point system is kind of wonky, and the collision is not what you set it to, but that is fine. It can be easily worked around. and I've done it before, and like I know how to work around it for myself. Um, so like I'm not too worried about it. As you see, like when it comes to the highlight, I'm not lining it up exactly with the one like on the full ball. I don't know why the original Sonic 1, and I think the other Genesis games do that too up until 3. But the jump ball, its shine is like a bit higher from the good appears on the sprites. I'm not sure why, but who cares? And then like it's an easy fix if I really wanted to change it, but I don't, since I'm just trying to recreate it. Not trying to like tweak the sprites or anything. So now we got the roll. Usually what I like to do, even if I'm not going to use it directly, I'm going to make the spin dash sprite. For that, I will be heading to Genesis, going to S, and grabbing Sonic Crackers. I'll be grabbing Sonic Sprites here. I'll just copy them. And then, boom, we got them here. The 2013, like the mobile port Origins, they use the Sonic 2 Spin Dash sprite, which is a bit messy and doesn't really fit the style of Sonic's 1 Jump Ball. Sonic Crackers, if I'm correct, it uses the Sonic 3. And it's just a style more for Sonic 1, surprisingly, because the Sonic 2 Spin Dash has like a full outline of the darkest blue. Well, this one doesn't have that, as you see. So what we're gonna do, delete the backgrounds. I'm gonna yoink our friend here, Mr. Jump Ball, and put him right here. And we're just gonna copy over the colors. Like, nothing too special. So now that we got that, we can import, well, bring those over to our player document and line them up. Let me actually do something that would be really smart. I go into the files for this one, grab the player collision object. And this is exactly what it seems like. It's just the players, like this shows like where the player's hitbox is. So we'll just merge these layers, and now that we got that, we can just like better line these up. I'm gonna have it be a bit back like this. There we go. So now that we get the spin dash sprite, we can work on the other frames of it. And it's just simple as just overlapping, making sure they line up. But actually what we can do this all at once, and then move it separately. Okay. Now that we got this, we can hide the additional frames for it, and just line it up. There we go. So now all of these frames are now lined up. Here we go. Delete that. We can close out of this sprite sheet since we don't need it anymore. Okay. So next up, we're gonna pop open the Mania animations again. Since the Mania animations are really well formatted, I like to follow the order of this, since it like makes sense. So we got our roll, we got our spin dash, and now we're gonna go to our spring. Uh-oh. It seems like I did whoopsies and deleted the spring sprite. Okay. Now that we have it, I'm gonna go back through, remove these, remove those, and not delete an animation that we haven't put in yet. Not fully sure like how the spring lines up, and this one, in the spring in Mania, it is more diagonal, so he's got more of a forward lean. I gotta turn my fan on, it's a bit hot in my room. But this one, it's just straight up vertical. So what I like to do is try to split it down to half, where the back of his ear is right against the border, and the very tip of his shoe is on the other side. Bring that down a bit, and then boom, we got our spring. Okay. Next up was the push animation. We already did the skid. I like to have the skid up next to these movement sprites, since that's where it's being used, and I like to have the spin dash next to the rolling sprites, since like that makes sense. So next up, we got pushing. And with the pushing sprites, we line it up with the very edge of the wall of the collision box. There's no harm. Like messing it up. You can change it like via the points, stuff like that. But it's best to like have everything lined up and like have it be the same sized image. So it's just way easier. You don't have to like mess with moving points, stuff like that. Now that this animation's done, it goes bye-bye. We got the hurt and death animations, but personally I like to put those at the end. So it kind of like wraps up the sprite. It's like, oh, you created it, and now it's dead. Oh, I'm getting a lot of warnings here. Whoopsies. But, yeah. So right now we're gonna do the balanced animation, which I think I deleted again. Yes, it goes up here. Whoopsies. Part 2. I did the exact same thing I said I didn't want to do. So okay, let's just stop deleting the sprites that we used. So this one, we want to line it up on like the edge of his hitbox. Since like once the hitbox is off, his foot will be off and that's when he falls. It's lined up slightly differently. Like I think you're like actually like a bit in. But I like to line it up here for consistency's sake, since if your foot's not in, you fall. And in personally in my mind, it just feels better. Okay, now that we got that animation out of the way, we go back. So we did push, we did skid. Okay, we did push, we did balance, we did skid. Now we can be working on the underwater animations. First sprite is... I always like to do the head-on one, so I can line it up better. And I'll put it directly airborne along with the rolling sprite. And I'll explain the reason for that later. So now we just grab this frame. Put it here, put it under. We grab this one and flip it horizontally, and then just put it on the other side. And then over here, we grab the final 2 frames and line it up like this, flip it, and put it there too. So, starts here, rotates, and his chest, like the very bottom point of his chest, pivots around a point. Now we grab his cling animation. And we put it in as well. You can put it up however you want. Right now, like I personally prefer like putting at the edge of the hitbox. I don't know why. I haven't really tested or done anything with this, but I want to see if this actually works. So we go here. I just line up these animations. So now I got all the underwater animations done. And all that, I know we gotta do the air gasp. where we're just gonna grab the walk sprite and overlay that. So it's just lined up the same. And now we can carry on into the hurt, death, and continue sprites. So once again, we're going to grab the jump ball and line the bottom of his sprite with the bottom of the roll. Since this is in a game, there would be no gap. Since this right here, this would be on the ground. So me just lining it up like this allows some additional animation stuff to happen with like the rolling, and it changes like how it changes like how it displays, how it goes. Since in the Genesis games, his rolling sprite does not rotate, even though like he would be rotating otherwise, like with his walk animation. A decent amount of fan games. I'm not sure if a lot would be the right term, but they do not follow that. Since one, it's way easier to animate, and I do not blame them. But I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. To my non-existent viewers. Oh. One, it's way easier to animate. I do not blame them. But it's still giving me the warning. I'll just close out of that. And now it says I got a good connection. Even though it'll be a long time before like we use a decent amount of these animations, it's a good idea just to have these in. Just like so they're there for you. Even like when you don't need them. So you don't have to come back to this document. You don't have to come back and line this all up again. That is... Since the bad, he just jumps. But I want to have his holding the Chaos Emerald sprite. His feet are directly lined up. And this is when the Chaos Emeralds go up, circle around, and then everything transforms. He does this little shrug animation, which we should be able to just flip like this. And that gets that done. And that's when he goes down for the leap. Just to have this leap here, so it's just slightly easier to import the animations. Like me not having it like this has no harm. But like, it's just easier so we can just shift click everything. And that's it. That is all of Sonic's used sprites. I might... Actually, yeah. As a bonus thing, we will have the victory jump. And maybe at like a later date, I can add Supersonic, but I'm not sure. Like once I get the base down, I can expand this however I want to. Okay, so we're done. So what we do, we make frames from layers, delete that sprite. Well, delete that frame. We're not deleting it entirely. It's just gone. So we see how everything's lining up. Photoshop's like once it like goes to the next page, it has to load in everything. Like once it's loaded in all fully, like see, it's not that bad. It's animating properly, and not having its like hitch-ups when it's loading in new frames. So what we do, we're gonna go save for web legacy, and we got this. We got the GIF. We don't want dither. We can set the colors, even though it doesn't really matter, since when we're working with the Genesis sprites, we're not really working more with 16 colors at a time. You see there's 2 blacks, which we will go fix that later. Sonic 1 sprites. And we just put that in there. So now we open up a sprite. Go to File, Open. We go to our Documents folder, and we yoink this man. So now we got him here. So you know how in Photoshop, it played at that speed, and even though it said it is just one, like, no delay at all? So I think that's because Photoshop, like, has a very set frame rate. So if we play it here, yeah, it actually does the no, the no frame delay. And this, like, makes it kind of a pain working with animated GIFs in Photoshop, since they will appear faster than what they do in the editor. Okay. Now we got Sonic's sprite here. What we're going to do, we are going to directly yoink his palette from up here. We don't have to, we can just have it be just the colors in the image. But, like, let's say if we were to add the peel-out sprite later, which actually, yeah, I might need to do that. Let's say if we, when we do add the peel-out sprite, it does use that yellow color. Which Sonic and Eggman share the same color palette, and a few other things share the same color palette with them. So that's why that yellow is there. So, I'm just gonna yoink it here. Once we get into a sprite, we can edit up the peel out sprite slightly. I'm gonna delete animation. Bring this back, remove our standing Sonic, and now we go put in these peel out sprites. I'm gonna line it up with his nose. Although personally, I like to have it like a pixel forward, so like as faster he sorry. The faster he goes, the more his lean is. Nothing really like that visually different from like a pixel lean or whatever. But it's just like a slight attention to detail that I like. And it makes sense. So now, we can go through the animation, watch it animate, realize that we've put the peel out frames in the wrong spot, so we're just gonna drag them. And we're gonna drag them to right after the run, but before the skid. So this like makes sense, it's like the progression of the run. So you got the walk, run, dash. Now we're gonna re-export that. Go to save. Overwrite this one. Tell this one to go bye-bye. And we bring him back. So now we got the peel out sprite. So what we're going to do, we're going to unlock our palette, set this to transparent, and bring it to the front. We remap, and now we can lock it. So now when we're referencing, we just follow how the colors are here. This is not needed, this is just how I like to do it. Since it just organizes the palette, since even though you might not like, most people when they use this, they will not be like going in here like, ooh, I wonder how the images are laid out via their palette. Most people won't do that, but it's just something like I like to do. It makes it feel organized in my mind. And we put this here. Remap, and our colors are correct. And then we could remove that color. Because I believe that color only appears on the continue sprite, and it's just like an accidental miscolor. There is nothing wrong with it. So now that our palette's correct, we cannot use colors that are outside of this palette. Like say we wanted to use a purple, it's going to give us a red. But if we do like a cool, well that's pink, I'm sorry. But if we use this purple, it gives us a red, and then like, it keeps us to like what's here. Like we do orange, we're going to get our tan. We do this orange, we get our darker tan. We do this off red, we get our like perfect red. And like let's say we do this weird teal color, it's going to appear as blue. So now that we got our sprites, we got to go into the file system of our project, which is a good idea. I can move this to archive since I don't work on it anymore. We go to stream, and now we lay out our asset folders, which this is not needed, but it's heavily recommended because it helps you keep yourself organized. So I like to just have it to be like the general assets, and we split it up between graphics and audio, and then we go into more sub folders. We go to players, we go to Sonic, and then this is where we import Sonic's animations. Well, export them. Import's bringing in, export's taking out. So we go to GDevelop, our folder, go to graphics player Sonic, and we're going to name this base Sonic underscore animations. The reason why I'm doing a base Sonic is so people can like add like their own, like they can add the Sonic to Sonic, for example, or they can add other stuff. The base just refers to like, oh, this is like the normal sprites being used. So this like gets it out of the way in case like someone names like their Sonic reskin or just Sonic animations, for example, or however they want to name it. And then we're gonna put this minus sign here and add 1. And so when we save all these as a PNG, we go in here, they're all PNGs named numerically. From what we have here, we got a total of 63 frames. If we go to here, you see how I do a very similar naming style? 230. It's not fun, but it's whatever. We can also yoink this player collision sprite. Since it is identical from that, so we're just gonna yoink it. We're not gonna waste any time. And we're just gonna place it in the players. We're not gonna make a like extra folder for it. It's just here. Naming it 1, just in case like I do like a smaller character or something like that. This is just the collision box. Hitboxes we'll do on the sprite. So now that we got our player collision object, we can go. I actually put it in here. And now we're going to edit points. I don't know why it's like this. I found out. Okay. I found out how to do it here. Where you want to line it up. So you remember how our roll sprite was hovering? Since we don't need this file, I can like twist it. Like edit it, stuff like that. So you see how our roll sprite was hovering over? We count how many. We want to have this in the center. In older versions of like the non-GDevelop extension, you don't have to have it in the exact center. You could like tweak the points, however, and like still get the same results. But now it has to be in the exact center. So now we count how many pixels he is from the ground. We see that at 7. So we go here. Oh, is it? Would it be 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I counted width and not height. I'm so... Whoopsies. So now we put this 9 here. And then we keep the origin the same. But when it comes to the Y, we do 48 plus 9. So that'll be 57. So now this point is in the center of our hitbox. Well, collision box. Collision mask. These don't matter. This version of the extension. Collision mask don't matter. Like if you were just do it normally, and not do this point system, it would seem like your collision is in the ground. But we got that. We got our behavior. And now we're going to add our Sonic sprite. Just for animations. And now we can add our animations. You can reference back, like, to the sprite sheet you're using, or you can reference the games, whatever. But personally, I've worked with these sprites a lot, so I know how everything's generally ordered. So I'm going to duplicate this. So in Sonic 1 and only Sonic 1, he starts out with... we're just getting the timings right. He starts out with like, the down eyelids. Well, yeah, eyebrows, whatever you want to call his mono eye. And then it goes to the up, and then it goes back down, and then he starts the animation. This only happens in this game. Sonic 2, and like Sonic Mania, for example. He will start... Well, he has this transition frame that will take up, like, this first eyelids down frame. And then it goes to the open, and then it goes to down, and then it starts. We're separating, like, the animations, just for ease of access. So it's just easier on us to begin with. So we put the foot tap speed to, like, 3 or something. We can always, like, later, like, fine-tune these values, stuff like that. We got our look up sprite, which in the original Sonic 1, it is only 1 frame for both, just like how Tails is in Sonic 2. But in the mobile remakes, they reused some of his Sonic 2 animation frames, edited slightly to fit the Sonic 1 style. Very slightly. So... like, you could see the jank from Sonic 2, like, in that in-between frame when you're making, like, when you're doing the look up. I'm gonna set this animation speed to 6. Put that as walk. For running, we'll set it to 4. Loop it. And you might be wondering, why am I setting the animations to be very slow? If you've played any Sonic game, and like a lot of like games do this, like 2D platform and stuff like that, the faster you go, the faster your walk animation is. So I'd like to have the base speed. Like that. I'll explain it once I get to it. How about that? Then we're gonna add the dash. Which I'm just naming dash, so like if I add any other characters, they can reuse this, for example. Now wait a second, this song's familiar. So we go, continue. We add our skid. Tweak the animation speed so it's correct. And we continue on. Rolling. There is 2 ways rolling is done. There is the slow roll, where like he does a full rotation then the ball sprite shows. Then he's got his fast roll, which if I'm correct on Sonic 1, it's 2 frames, ball, 2 frames, ball. And that just loops. in the remakes in every other game after this, it's frame, ball, and that just continues until the animation is done. I do not want to go manually do the different rolling sprites. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have it be the 2 on, 1 ball. And we could set that to 14, for example. But I do see why they did it like this, since it just looks smoother. But we're wanting to animate it just like how Sonic 1 did it, for the most part. So we'll set it up like this. Depending on how it looks in-game, I might change it up later, but that's for later. I'm gonna duplicate my sprites. So we got all these in-between frames. So now it animates properly. I'm gonna set this animation speed to be a bit higher. Let's say 22. And there. I am going to... Oh, that's right in my face. I'm going to hide my display while I check something real quick. I'm just wanting to check my Discord. See how it's going, since I know I was talking to someone about it. Talking to someone in the Sonic GDevelop server about they're having an issue with animating the water from the other developers, very small recreation of Sonic 1. Since what that does, it uses effects to change the color of the sprite, background sprite, and that's what we will be doing too. You put in Amy, for Sonic, but the effect must be on the same page. Or actually, we can dive into it later. The effect might be on the same page, so... well, on the same layer. So Amy's pink color is really close to the debug pink color. And that's why, I have, when I do debug colors, I have it be the exact values that are off from the palette. So, this... the Amy sprite is off, and her colors are flashing too. Just going through the rest of my messages real quick. This is just been a while since I checked. Okay. Oh. Kaiser. I just had my stream hidden real quick while I was checking Discord. Nothing too much. Oh yeah. Once I'm done, responding to a few of these messages, I will head off. Well, I won't head off, I'll bring the stream back up. So now, we're bringing this back. I know, you guys can see! Yay! Just importing our animations. So now we got the spring. So we just label it spring. You know, the smart thing to do. Push. I'm gonna make that 2 frames a second. And this animation, I didn't know, but it's actually influenced by the movement speed stuff too. And I just found that out when I was reading something. Okay. I'll loop this. Set it to 3. And we can name this balance. And we just continue on with the rest of our animations. What this says, hover. If I'm not, like, naming it, like, the water tunnel. Yes, I'm not naming it Spinning in Labyrinth Zone Tunnels. That's a long name, and I'm lazy. So I'm just naming it a hover, so it's named like that elsewhere. Actually, is it actually named hover in the mania sprite sheet? It's named fan, which it makes sense. Now we got the cling animation. Set this to 14. We got the breathe / air gas, but I'll just label it as breathe. We got our hurt sprite. We got our sliding sprite. And then we got our death animations. Death and drown. We can. What I'm gonna do here, since I'm gonna make this global, so I can use it in any scene, instead of like having to copy and paste it all over again. I'll just put every single Sonic animation besides that very ending, like, big sprite. Just so it's all here, so I can just use, like, the same object, like, for animations and stuff like that. Been a while since I died in Sonic 1, so I don't really remember, like, the full animation speed of this animation. But we will guesstimate. And then we can always tweak it later. We will not put in the ending sprite, since I might just make it its own object. It'd just be easier on me. And plus, I'm not in the mood to animate the ending sprites right now. Set this to 6. Victory, jump, dash, victory. And we're gonna name this, since now we got, no, that's just a roll sprite, I'm done. But, now we got an additional jumping sprite. I'm just labeling as a victory jump. So now, so remember how, whoever's watching the stream right now, or whoever's watching this after, earlier I changed the point system of the player collision. Now I gotta do the same for, the player sprites, so they line up. So now that is lined up, we're fine. So now it comes to our fun stuff. Actual setting variables and doing stuff. Actually, wait, not yet. We need ground. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to that Mania one that I showed at the beginning of the stream, and yoink all of these. I can actually yoink the whole fold. No, we're not cutting it. We're just going to copy it. And I'm gonna head over here and paste it. So now we just have all these sprites. There is no need to me to go and recreate these when it's going to be the exact same. So now you can go sprite, collision, files, dash solid. And then we can put our collision tile animations there. So we go to base, we grab the flat, and then we're going to grab the sloped one as well. That is red. Whoops. But, whoever's watching the stream right now, feel free to comment on whatever you're saying. Feel free to ask questions. I'll more than, I would more than be gladly to answer them for whoever's share. Or if you have questions in the comments once this, like, stream's done and stuff like that, feel free to ask too. So we're gonna edit the collision mask. And delete that. So we're gonna keep like collision stuff up here. Which I'm not gonna make these global, but I will make the player animations global. It tells me that I cannot undo it. I say wah wah, and I don't care. So we're gonna go in here and put in player animations. And then we can add our Sonic. And it always opens up the variable thing now. And then we can set this as global. Set as global. So now with this being global, we can reference it whenever. So when it comes to us, like actually using it, all we have to do is call for base Sonic animations, and boom. And we could call it from here, referring to here, and it says, create an object with the name blah from this group. So what we're gonna do now, since we did that, we're gonna go into our global variables, and we're gonna start putting some things. First, we're gonna do settings, or options, however you wanna do it. I'm just doing settings right now, because I feel like it. We're gonna go to input, make that a structure as well, and then we put our inputs. So D-pad up, and then we just add the rest, down, D-pad left, D-pad right. And we set these all to text. We're gonna have our three like face buttons, which was A, B, C. Set these to text as well. There we go. We'll make this our start button. Make that text as well, and then we just put whatever keys we want to be used for these buttons here. Once I'm like done with this, you would like once we're done, and like probably at a later stream, we can go and what's it called? Like set it so we can actively change these. So now that we got input done, another variable we're going to do right off the bat is max volume. So we're just going to set this as a structure. We're going to have it be the background music, and it'll be at its number. And then we put it at our sound effects, and we have it be a number as well. I don't think this stream I'm going to like focus on sounds. I'm just going to focus on gameplay since sounds can be easily added, trust me. So now we got our input, our max volume, and now we're going to do character. Set this as a structure. We'll set this to current. And then we'll set this as the name of the base Sonic. As you see, it's right here. And we're also going to add abilities. Did I spell that right? Yes, I did. And we'll just set this as structure and we'll leave it be for now. So right now, all I'm focused on is just we're not like really coding in like spin dash, peel out. We're not doing that stuff right now. And if I were to add any other characters, or if someone were to go in here and add their own characters, they can easily go here and do that. And like set like their abilities, stuff like that. And this is only here, like, let's say if you're Sonic and you wanted to use his tails as flight, for example. Or more fittingly, if you wanted to try to swim in Labyrinth Zone. At the beginning of the scene, all of these abilities are set to false. But at the very beginning of the scene, it'll see what character you are, and then it'll give you abilities based on what character you are. I could be really mean and make almost everything tied to an ability, which actually might be useful. So now that we got a character done, we're gonna add additional. And this is like gonna be more of our like not like super important stuff. So we're gonna set this to structure, and we're gonna have use a victory jump. So this means, this just says, what I'm going to have this variable do, if it's set to true, once you finish the level, you're able to do the victory jump. Which that was in, like, early, like, prototypes for Sonic 1, but it was scrapped. And if it's false, you'll just jump normally. You can also, like, set other things, like, we could do, like, blue shoe tails, have like characters use the dash animation. Actually, we can do that now. Since this one will actually be decently important here soon. So now we're here. We got a few variables to set up. Actually, I say that, we still need some of our variables. So we're going to have this go to gameplay. I'm going to set this to a structure again. You can have these like be all like they're separate like variables. There is nothing stopping you from doing that. But I like use structure since it keeps things organized. So gameplay, we're going to have a thing called scale. And this just tells the game, hey, what's the current scale of our gameplay layer? Which, that would be the base layer. Since GDevelop, I've encountered this on multiple experiences, it does not like pixel-perfect looking games. Like, if you want to do, like, I don't know, like, 100 by 100 pixel game, you do not want to have it be 100 by 100 pixels, like, in the gameplay. And that's just a GDevelop thing from what I know. I don't know if it works with other, like, game engine stuff. Most likely not. But what I've been doing, I've been having the gameplay layer be a way bigger scale. Like, depending on the sprite size, I can have it up to, like, 2, 4, 8, whatever would float my boat. But for, like, Genesis here, I'm doing 4. So that gives us, like, a decent amount of room. And that will come into use later. So now, we got our gameplay scale. We go here, go to Advanced, and we set it to 4. And apply, and we do that for our player collision too. So now, this is 4 times what it's supposed to be. So for a go, I'm going to tweak some general properties right now. No changes to the screen size. Keep this at 60. I've yet to have someone test like my games with like a lower end device. I need to do that. But some of my things I do, which I really need to like get away from. Some things are frame dependent. But whatever. We'll take care of that later. No changes to game size is done to keep our aspect ratio. If we're ever to do 3D, we don't want it to be anti-aliasing. And yeah. We have require Steam. Oh. So if I really wanted to. So, okay, I hate to break topics. So you remember how, like, FNAF Plus and, like, some, like, modifications of, like, FNAF, like, in real time, they require you to own the game on Steam. You can have that here. I thought it was like, oh, you were required to own this game on Steam. But you can have it set up and, like, you're required to own whatever game. Like, for example, I can have it be, like, you're required to have Psychopomp Gold in your Steam library to play this game. It is an amazing game. I do recommend it. But you can easily do that. So you can check and see if you actually have a said game in your Steam library if you're able to play it. But you see, if we launch this now, we see he falls to his death, and because that's like the collision stuff's like working. But you see, it's really big. So what we're going to do is go and have something that runs every frame. It doesn't need to. We can have this be a trigger once. And actually, I'm going to do it a trigger once now that I bring it up. So we're going to have it be 1 divided by gameplay dot scale. And this refers to the number that we set back there, which would be our 4. So now, it is our correct. Now it looks 1-to-1. What we want to do now, I'm going to set this Z order to 0 because I can. Actually, no, keep this at 1. Set this to 0. And now, I'm going to go down 3 blocks. I'm going to go to the side 3 blocks. I just put this here. So we got like a general platform to work with. Okay. So now that our platform's there, we won't fall. No, wait a second. Oh, it's because I forgot to give it the behavior. So we got Hedgehog Platformer. We got all these things to configure, but we can do that later. So now, we're just gonna adjust this. Let me see. Now we got our gameplay. We can move now, but the default values are different. So what exactly we want. So at the very beginning of the stream, I accidentally flashed a calculator. This is not my first time like doing like recreating Genesis Sonic physics. Most of it's like test project stuff that I don't release. But what we gotta do, we gotta use two tools. We can close out of that Sprites Resource tab. And we go here, and we open up the Sonic Physics Guide. So, we're gonna go in order. We can close a sprite as well. And we could close Photoshop right now as well. Okay. I cleaned up my taskbar. Yippee. So, our first value is our max speed. I know it is like 6. Yeah, it's 6 over here. So we go to this calculator, and I have an equation set up. This creates pixels like per frame, which is what the Genesis used. Well, this is what the physics guide uses. But GDevelop, this extension, uses forces. And what I have it here, we have px, which is our v standing for value. We got time set by s. I got a spam call. I'll be right back and troll them. It was, I don't know if you guys have been getting those, but it is those, like, police donation things. I don't know if they're legit or not. Like, for the first few times, that if I'm getting them, I was respectful about it. This like actually seems legit. But lately, I think like the ones I originally were getting were like legit or something. I don't know. But recently I've been getting them from call centers where you have like this scammer or whatever speak to you as like, oh, we're gonna go to an automated message. And then it would like play the audio that you're used to hearing. And that is a big red flag, and it is best to instantly hang up the phone. Anyways, S over here stands for scale. Then X is our little exponent. So we have S be our seconds, which we set as our frame rate, and then we have our exponent value there. So our max speed would be 1,440. And now we go to acceleration. Go here. Acceleration is towards the bottom. I don't know why. And now see we need an exponent of 2. So we go to value, put that in, and put the exponent as 2. So now we got this. You could put it in for ground acceleration and friction. Deceleration. I know it says 0.5, but to me that feels slightly too, like, sharp. It's gonna be the only thing off that, like, I'm purposely making off about gameplay. I'm gonna set it to 1.35. Set it to this value. Make sure using that, and we set it there. Advanced properties, I'm gonna increase these about like double. I'm gonna set that to 24 though. That is not double. Minimum angle for ground unattach. I'm gonna have to go to slopes. Actually, no, we'll focus on that once we get down to it. We're gonna go back up here, air acceleration. Here we go, air state, air acceleration, which in the classic Sonic games, you accelerate faster in the air than you do on the ground. They completely change this, and other stuff. So we have the exponent of 2, and we'll grab this. Minimum, this just says, if you're higher than this speed when you're in the air, you start to get air drag. Right now we're not going to set it, but I'm going to put our values there. We got this one with an exponent of 2. So we got to go to our slopes. Slope physics. We go to down here, slope factor normal. This is a exponent of 2, so we keep our 2 there, and we link this. This is what the slope factor is normally. Uh, it is same whether if you're going up or down, but when you're rolling, these values do change. Slip duration, I think that is like how it's supposed to be. Now we get to jump. Okay. We're gonna go to gravity. Gravity has an exponent of 2 once again. Maximum falling speed has an exponent of 1. So we're gonna go back to air state, gravity, and put that in here. So we go to gravity, put that here. We can ignore this. The standard jump height, yeah, jump force is 6.5, but it's reduced to 6 for Knuckles. And this is an exponent of 1, since that number seems way too big. Yeah, it's an exponent of 1. You got to our deceleration, stuff like that. Now we got our stuff here. So we're gonna go back to slope physics. We're gonna scroll down. So this one. So if you're at, like once you go to like 46 degrees, so if this is above or equal to, then you start to slip. 3 method. They change it so you slip at a certain part, but you fall at another part. I am not fully sure, like, the max angle you can, like, stand on until, like, slope starts to take effect. So we're just gonna set that to base 20. Minimum angle for ground unattaching. So we go back here, slip/fall. So we grab our 2.5, so go here, 600, and we put that in minimum speed. So if you're lower than the speed, you fall, or slip, or whatever's happening. This is our rotation speed, step numbers. We don't have to mess with this right now. And I got the minimum angle, minimum stack, stand angle. Now we gotta do... Okay, just reading here. We're gonna set it to Sonic 3. We're gonna put it to 69. Peak number. It's basically the same from what it was. Actually, I want to set it to 68 and 45. And that should be all our values in place. So we're gonna launch it up. Just moving and grooving. But I don't know why, but with this extension, air acceleration feels way too fast. I'll keep it for now, but like once I go and test stuff, I will, you know, make sure it's proper. Well, not make sure it's proper, I'll tweak it and make it feel like it's proper. I'm gonna put our player there. And now we're going to start with something called external events. Which is just like a really good thing for organizing. So we're going to do player related. Have it link to our gameplay test. You can use this wherever. It just, scene that you link to is the like objects you're able to use. including global. You can always use global. Global is just cool like that. So now we're going to put link external events in there. I'm going to set this to trigger once. And we're going to set this over here to trigger once as well. So, at the start of the scene, it'll create an object from its name. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Settings, Character, Current. I'm going to add this string, which just right here just grabs the whatever the variable value is. I'm going to add it to underscore animations, which was our naming system that we have for the animations. So we're going to go here, have it go to our player location. We're going to go, have it always, and we can have like set up a variable where it would, like if it needed to, we can unlink it from that. So we're going to set it to position, and we're just going to do the same thing here. Okay. So now, if we're to launch it up, Sonic follows our little green box. Isn't that cool? Okay. So now we're going to get into animations. Animations are fun. It makes the game look fun. So we're going to name this group Idle, Board, Look Up, and Duck. Since I tend to clump all of these into like basically the same thing, so I'm just starting to name it like what's all here instead of just idle. So we're gonna have it. So if the player is, where is it? If the player is not moving, I'll just duplicate it so we're put into the same like general location. And if they're on the floor, which pressing J inverts it. So right now it is moving, but if I press J, it's inverted. So if it's not moving, and then we're gonna make an event under here. So all these have to be true for the next stuff to configure. So now we're gonna go to input. No, we go key pressed. We're gonna use expression, which is there. That's just, oh, here's the default keys. So we're going to go to settings, input, keypad up. I'm gonna duplicate this and replace it with down. And then we're gonna invert both of these. And have it set the animation by name, so you can like better see what's going on. Number can be used. I just prefer names, so you can like I see like what's happening. And we set it to idle. And we duplicate this twice and put a trigger once on the first one. And you'll see why here shortly. Invert this one and invert that. So now we can have our up and down. Okay. So here, we're going to have the object will start a timer. And this will be player idle underscore to 1. Okay, 1. Some characters, like in Sonic Mania, they have multiple idle animations. Either they go back to their first idle animation frame while they're like first idle animation, or they go back to like their standing animation, like with Tails and Knuckles, from what I remember. Sonic seems to be the only character that goes back to his first idle animation now. So this starts a timer, and when that timer is greater than 3, I think 3 is correct. I remember like testing one day and like saying like, oh, how long does it take for Sonic to go idle? Well, to get bored. I counted 3. I was using the in-game time, and That number is stuck with me. I don't know how, like, it's perfectly stuck with me, but it has. We're gonna have this be trigger once as well. So I want to see. Has animation. I don't think we can, like, have this, like, oh, if you had this animation, yada yada yada. We want to set. We don't want to reference base Sonic. We want to reference the player animations. So it applies to all characters that we currently have. We're going to have this set to our board start. And for Sonic 1, there's only one board animation. At least for Sonic. There we go. Here, and we tell the game, hey, if your animation is your board start, and if the animation is finished, change your animation to this. And we're going to set that to the board loop. So if he stands around for a bit, eventually he gets bored. Since it only triggers once. Oh, because he just starts it every time you go to the thing. This must be coded differently from how I originally did it. But it's probably because I'm using like trigger one. Like trigger once. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna have it delete anyways. So just to make sure it is not going to be triggered when you're looking up or down. Yeah, since you're gonna look up, you go idle and you look up for the 3 seconds, it will kick you out to the board animation. So now it deletes from these. But I'm gonna add a little extra thing here. I'm gonna add it if it's moving and it's not grounded. But we're gonna use something called the OR condition, which just says if only one, if one of these or more of these conditions are active, then it'll carry out the thing. And just to make sure everything is right, we're gonna go animation speed scale 1. This is not really needed, but it's just like good to have just in case like your speed gets messed up, like from you hitting the ground or something like that. But I'm pretty sure it won't. So that is now our board animation. And that's all in that group. So now we're going to go to event group, walk, run, and dash. So we're going to do something similar. If you're grounded, and if you are moving, now we can hide that. We don't need that anymore. So now we get to something. We're going to be using an AND, which is just really useful when used with OR statements. Since the OR says only one of these conditions have to be true for me to trigger. But if you put an AND statement, it says, okay, this AND statement is one of the things that could be true, and you can have multiple triggers in there. So that's really useful for these walk and run animations. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go here. And yeah, we got our AND. I somehow pasted that. Okay. So we're gonna do speed. Should be ground speed somewhere in here. Ground acceleration. Speed. So if it is greater than 0, but less than, I gotta invert these. But if it's less than your max speed. And then we're going to do another and we're just going to do the other way. Set this to negative. And then we could put an or statement and put these and statements inside. So now, it's all nice and cozy in there. So we can go and have the animation by name set to the walk animation. Copy it since I'm lazy. And speed scale, we set it to 1. So it's no matter what, it's going to at least play at the speed that we set it into the animation editor. And then we're going to have ABS, which sets it to a positive number no matter what. And we're going to have player, collision, hedgehog character, speed. Divided by, like, let's say, like, 600. I don't know. Since we're working with big numbers, we gotta work with big numbers here, too. Let me set it to that. So now, when we walk, our animation speeds up as we get faster. Then we can go here. If it is greater than or less than our max speed. I meant greater than or equal to, and then less than and equal to. I just caught that. I had to think for a moment. And then we go to run. Now for this number, we're going to set it to the dash. So we go here. I'm going to go to animations. Idle, walk, run. If your ground speed exceeds or equals to 10, and this will be our number that we will be referring to. Put that there. Put that there. And of course, we gotta make this number negative. I'll set it to run. But remember, we had a thing called uses dash animation. So I'm gonna put that here. Well, in there, gonna have it be variable value. And we go to settings, additional, use dash animation. If it is true, it'll carry out the stuff. And then if it's greater than or equals to that, and then we can get rid of that part. You can get rid of the and statements too, if we really wanted to. And then we set that to dash. But if it is false, which the original Sonic 1 does not have a dash animation. And even if you play, like, the mobile ports, or Origin's version of Sonic 1, 2, or 3, Sonic, even though he's got the peel-out sprite, he will not use a dash animation. Tails is the only character in the base Genesis games that has a well, like, in base classic Sonic games, that will have a that would have a dash animation no matter what's happening. This right here does ignore that, but it's just like for consistency. Put that there. Oh, the music stopped. Oh. Well, it stopped our music since we finished. I guess we're just going to still listen. Take some DK music for our Sonic project. You know, as you do. I'm going to set this to run. So now, our walk animation is the same throughout. no matter what, we will have our walk animation. But if our use dash animation is off, all it's gotta be is greater than the max speed, and then you go to the run. But if it's true, there's a buffer that says, oh, you can't be, like, this value or higher, so it's able to use the dash animation. And we're gonna shrink those down to make it less cluttered. Actually, no, we don't have to, since we can do it like this. So we can, like, see everything we have so far. As you see, we do not have our, like, directions. That's easy to do. But what I'm actually going to do, since I'm going to be repeating the same code anyways, I'm going to go open up a recent and grab here. I will explain what this does. So we're going to grab these three. And everything else I will recreate. But this is just like for angles, stuff like that. Nothing too important. Like, this is not the meat and the bones, it's just the simple stuff. I don't know how long the stream's been up. Hopefully it hasn't been up too long for everyone. We got 2 likes. It's really nice to know. We've been up for almost 2 hours now. Okay. So now we're back in our project that we're working on. We'll put direction here. We'll get to is skidding and is rolling here soon. As in soon, we're going to do it now. Because I don't want to remove it just to add it back. So we have is rolling. And then we set this to a boolean, which is just a true or false. And then we have is skidding. Okay, so we have nothing to trigger skidding or rolling yet. But basically, if skidding is false, yeah, if skidding is false, you are unable to, like, change your direction. But, like, once you exit skidding, you're perfectly fine. This is because the skidding animation holds the same direction no matter what you're doing. Just so, like, you're actually, like, going against... So, I don't know how to explain it. So, if you're grounded and if you're not slipping, you're able to process these, where if you press the input that you're currently moving in, you'll face that direction. It's just like, if when you slip, your direction gets locked for a bit. And that's how the Genesis games work. But if you're not grounded, you're able to flip your direction freely. That's fine. So that's direction. Input. Okay, we have our the same variable names. So that's good. Input is more complicated. If you're pressing left, and if you're not pressing down, and you are grounded, you'll be going left. If you are going right, and also if you're not grounded, nothing will stop you from pressing left or right, unless you have, like, a control lock, which I just not added. Same thing with right, but it's... Yeah, it's the exact same thing for right. But for jumping, which I have it be your input A and your input C, which I actually need to fix that, since we are using lowercase letters. So A and B are, like, our jump keys, and I'm probably gonna have, what's it called? C be, like, a transform key, if we do add supersonic. So if the down key is pressed, If it's not pressed, you can jump. But if it is pressed and your current speed is 0, that prevents you from jumping. This is so you can use the spin dash. And actually, no, we're not going to do that. When we get to abilities, if has spin dash is false, this part will not, like, take effect whatsoever. Angle is about the same thing. If you are in one of these animations, which I need to remove these. If you're either in walk, run, or dash, you will be able to change your angle. But if you're not in those, your angle is set to 0. We're just gonna put here. I'm gonna set this to 0. And this is just like to smoothly rotate your character. I will be replacing this with the like Genesis 45-degree angle rotation later, but I'm not gonna do it now since that is not in our concerns. Okay. So if we start it now, we're able to go do whatever. Walk, run. My camera's not following our X position, so I can't really build up speed for a run. But I can do that. That is the wrong thing. Camera. Center camera on object, and we'll have that be our player object. And there. So now it is always to be centered on our player. I'm gonna make a clone here. Actually, now we don't have to. Make that wall big. Put the clone here. When it comes to, like, walls and stuff, when you got, like, a corner, you don't want it to be, like, not touching. You want it to be overlapped. So it's, like, both forces against. And we can just raise this to the abyss. And just bring this out however long I want. So now, we should have a decent spot to get actually running. Let me full screen it for you guys. But yeah. We're able to walk and move. Okay. I'm gonna go grab this object. Our collision layer floors are layer 0. We're gonna keep it like that to respect its wishes that I set for it. And I'm gonna have like some slopes around here. And just to test the like if like our slopes are working, how they affect our player. Set this to 0 for the animation. And I want to also like block these corners. With just objects that are like the same height as the current slope object near it. This case, you don't accidentally clip. It is best to like have it be like full wall, but that doesn't matter right now. We probably won't be going fast enough to get that. I could flip this. We can make a little ramp here. So we're gonna do a 6x6. turn it to a 4 by 3. And then do this, and then we basically mirror what we just did. So 6 by 2, a 4 by 3, a 3 by 4, and this would be a 2 by 6. Of course, add this here, set it to 0, it does not need to be flipped. And then, we just add it on top. This is not like the perfect shape, but it gets our job done for now. So like right now we're just like testing to see if like our values work. And we could just have like this big ramp here. It goes down harshly. We could bring this back over. So we can make this ramp bigger. And then, of course, have our running rounds. The max I'm doing, like, for, like, stuff we need, like, how far you should need to go on a slope is, like, 4. I think that works. Normally, if you're doing collision, like, if you're, like, wanting to have your collision objects be visible, do not stretch them out like this. Since this is going to be invisible, and you're not able to access it from beneath, we can have it, like, just stretched out like how it is. So if we go to play, let me full screen it. Sprite rotates. I might speed up the run animation. I'll go to this big ramp. I might need to make it bigger so we can, like, see the dash animation, which we have set to false. So if I'm able to go set that to true and trigger the dash animation, that'd be good. Okay, we weren't able to trigger the dash animation to begin with. Okay. So I'm going to set that to be steeper. So we just got a big slope. Okay. So currently our dash animation is active. We could jump against the slope. And like, we're affected mostly correctly. Sometimes it bugs out, but that's fine. So now we have our peel out animation. But if we go to here and set that to false, we should be able to not see our dash animation. And that's correct. We're unable to see our dash animation. I'm gonna go speed this animation up to our 6 frames. And same with this one, so it's like consistent. Go. Now it looks like you actually have speed when you're running. That angle must be lower than everything. So we're gonna set it to like a steeper slope. Oh yeah, since we got our like default controls now, we can go to the player collision and disable them. Well, since we set up controls in the game, we can disable our default controls. So us like disabling our left and right movement actually works. If we try to go up here, slip, and then we can't go back up. And then like if it's a steeper angle, we'll actually fall. So if I go restart, and we go to our little ramp, not tall enough. So I gotta be a bit smart when I get the speed. Okay. Let me test something real quick. Set this ramp to 4. That's 5 by 5. That's fine. Have it go down again. I'm gonna always just like delete these at a later date. I might make an actual like little tile set, little chunk set for this. Okay. So we should have slippage like one going up this. We do not. That is a 45-degree angle. So we're going to... Correct me if I'm wrong with this. I'm going to set this 40. This is going to be off, but I have not tested the, like, an active 45-degree angle in the Genesis game, so I don't fully know. I'm going to run up and go down. So if we go up, we slip, and then we go back down. So yeah, I feel like to do this later, but if you hold both up and down, they, you don't do anything. But it is, like, to be expected, though. Because there's no trigger if both are held. If both are held, my English is bad. But, yeah. Now we're gonna have to get to our more complicated stuff. Now, actually no, first we want to add our jump animation. So, if you're jumping, trigger once. Just gonna yoink this over here and place it here. It will just set to our roll animation. Divided by like 750. And since you're jumping, it doesn't like unlike the non-GDevelop version of this extension. When I say like GDevelop version, I mean like the version officially like published to the extension list. And for the non-GDevelop version, it is it's going to be speed no matter what. For this, I don't know why, but it marks your speed, like your ground speed in air. But then again, it's just speed overall instead of like ground speed. So since we're in air, we're going to have to set that to X so it works properly. So now, we go in our jump ball. But you see, Sonic is kind of floating when he's jumping. Which, we gotta fix that. Since we don't want a floating hedgehog. So we're gonna preset number since his animation was kind of fast. We're gonna go here. So now, I'm gonna disable share all points. So we're gonna go through the list until we find the roll. Set the 9 to 0. And we're gonna go through the list until we find our hover. Set that to 0. Same with the cling. Same with our hurt animations. And that's all we gotta worry about. So now, it is down onto the ground. Well, not down to the ground. It's normal. Corners are a bit buggy, but like most Sonic games, you don't have like a direct corner like that, like a full super steep angle right off the bat. It's usually like a drop a bit, then you hit the ramp, well, then you hit the angle, or it's like just smoothed out. I'm gonna check my messages real quick, so I'm gonna hide the display. Uh, okay. Nothing much. I was just wanting to make sure in case anyone messaged me and they didn't see that I was on Do Not Disturb. I don't like to leave people undelivered. So now we got that. Now we get to the fun part. For this jumping code, we'll just leave it out because it's just the one event. So we're gonna go to event group, roll. So, if you are yeah, we want to set. No, we'll put that in the roll section. So if you are, we gotta go to here. We go to rolling, which is right here. The friction is halved. Get top speed. Talks about momentum. So you cannot roll unless you're greater than a set speed. Well, we're going to keep it at 1. Since it was changed to 1 so you can spin dash easier. Yeah, but this is what I was talking about. I didn't mean to click it. It's force of habit, but I can explain what's going on here while I'm here. So, Amy's like hair colors, like I said earlier, like towards the beginning of this stream, they're being affected by the water, and that's about it. This is like really simple GDevelop stuff that he's asking me about. I'll get back to him later. And actually close Discord so I don't make that mistake again. So if your speed is... Ugh, I'm sorry. If you're on the floor, your speed is greater than 240. Is that greater than equals to, or greater than or equal to? Okay. So greater than or equal to. We're gonna grab our good old friend or. Set it to negative 240. Okay. Now that we got our starting stuff, actually no, we gotta have the input being pressed. Input, mine. And down key is pressed. I'm gonna set player collisions variable is rolling to true. So now this just triggers it. We're not gonna put anything else here. We trigger once, and we're gonna make sure your rolling is already. No, it doesn't matter since rolling is set to true. We're just gonna put everything in the next stuff. So, if rolling is true, we can have it do this stuff. Trigger once. This will be our sound. We do not have sounds yet, but I'm just preparing for the future. Change the animation to roll to that. And instead of X speed, we just set it to speed. Now we're going to set deactivation. So we're going to get OR, our good old friend. We're going to go here. Increase to 1. tunnels. We're gonna keep, what's it called? Rolling jump. You don't have control once you, like, jump from a roll, but we're gonna, like, have it, like, be default that you have that thing. Or we can set it to be a toggle. Acceleration. Running. Player top speed cap. There is a top speed cap, reaching a top speed of 16, unlike running. The player cannot surpass the speed cap. Okay. So we don't really have to set a speed cap. Okay. So if your speed, when you yank it from here, is less than, let's grab the 0.5. 0.5. I could have done simple division. So if it's less than and greater than negative, we're gonna have this be and. So both of these have to be toggled. Well, both of these have to take effect. Set this to false. We go here. Set this has to be false so you can do your walking stuff. Player is not on the floor. And then we can add other stuff as we go on. But now, we got rolling. So yeah, now we can roll. And rolling works fine. I didn't set the variables yet. Let's go do that. We're gonna indent this, since, like, I'm just doing this to make sure in case there's a time where we need to change the roll up and roll down. So we're gonna go here. Upward slope factor, 180, and that was an exponent of 2. So we're gonna have it so the roll up and roll down would be changed back to this number. Upwards, fit here. And then downwards, set here. And this basically only triggers once, so we don't have to worry. But we're gonna set another thing here. We do not want to move it, we want to copy these. There we go. So we go to rolling. Actually no, we gotta go to slope physics. Go here. This is when you're rolling up something. You gotta set that to 2. Set that to a lower number. And then set this to a higher number. Friction is halved, so let's set that as well. Friction. I'm too lazy to do math, so I'm just gonna grab the friction speed from here. Friction's that. We could go not to the animation, silly. We go to player collision. We look for friction. So I don't do that again, I'll put it there. So now we got our variables in place. We're rolling. Simple. If there's something like for ground speed, I need to, not ground speed, ground angle. Since like when you're like up here, you are like when you're like on a slope, you do not unroll like once you get to a low speed. You stay in the ball. Go up and then roll down because we can. And then we just get sent out like a rocket. But I'm actually going to change the roll to be like every other roll animation. Just so it looks nicer. What's playing now? Another Donkey Kong Country song. Zoom. Wow, we were able to cut that speed off. But that shows like how like high your acceleration is in Sonic games. Last thing I'm gonna add in this stream, I might stream like, I don't know, Monday or something. I'm gonna add the skidding. Which I'm going to rework. I know I said I want to do it like for like the big stuff, but I'm not in the mood to like do skidding since it was kind of a pain to do. Okay. So now that we got the group, we can go here and just plop it in. I'll explain what this does, like, in the context of the manual one. Oh, hello, random person that's watching my stream. If you have any questions on what I'm doing, or like, if you just want to talk, feel free to type it in the chat. But in the stream, not in the stream, I'm sorry. In here, it checks if you're grounded, and if you're not rolling. And then it checks your speed. If your speed's a certain number, you're going to skidding. And you have to, like, be facing the other way, like, when you go to skid. So if, like, I'm going to the left, I have to press right and be horizontally flipped to be able to activate skidding. We can delete this stuff. So that's just like the animation. Since Sonic Mania has like a going into the skid animation, the loop of the skid animation, and the ending of the skid animation. And this we can keep the same. We're going to set this to equals to skid instead. I'm going to change the animation to skid. Just skid. And it places center too. Okay. Oh, it's because we don't have the skidding on the walk and dash. But yeah. Does you ever want to do anything that like interrupts the walk cycle? We have to make sure like it is unable to trigger when like skidding or rolling is active, or it will just cancel out the animation like you saw. So now, we're able to skid to a step. And fun fact, the skid animation does not rotate. I think it might rotate in Mania, and like Superstar, stuff like that. But in the Genesis games, there's no rotation frames for the skid animation. So, like let's say you're upside down on a loop, you will be like upright just for the skid animation. Speaking of which, it's a bit too slow. I'm gonna set this to 14. Fun fact, when you're skidding in like almost any classic Sonic game, you get like little puffs of smoke that appear under you. That was not a thing in Sonic 1. It only appeared in Sonic 2 and was added into everything else after, and like added to like the remakes. Not the remakes, the ports, for example. But I'm not fully sure that is the case for CD. But we got our basic movement done. So in this stream, we set up the, we just set up the scene, we imported our Sonic graphics, and let me just full screen it while I talk. So in this stream, we set up Sonic's graphics, we set up our like collision stuff like that, we set our, just like our game up in general. We set the gameplay scale and we zoomed out the camera based on the gameplay scale, so it appears 1:1. We got our idle, look up, board, and duck animations done. We got our walk, run, dash animations done. We got rolling complete. And we got skidding complete. So in theory, you can just make a Sonic game off of this. You wouldn't really have anything else to do besides, you know. But if I really wanted to, I can package this up and send it off. I'm not going to do that, of course. But, yeah. That is pretty much it for my stream today. This is Anna Nooney. I'm glad for anyone who joined the stream today. And I'm glad for anyone who's watching the stream after I'm done. And I'm glad that you made it this far. I hope you have the rest of your day is amazing. I hope that the rest of your day or night, whatever you're doing, is amazing.